Hello, welcome. This is first of many videos over the next couple of months focusing on favorites of Black content creators. I usually do a monthly get ready with me focusing on using products from Black owned makeup brands. Last month, I decided to shift gears and focus more on Black content creators versus Black owned makeup brands. I think I bit off more than I can chew. I sent out a questionnaire to over 40 Black content creators on Instagram and here on YouTube. And for a while, with the answers coming in, I felt overwhelmed trying to tally up, keep track of everyone's favorites. And even though I sent out over 40, I still have much more, but I think I'm gonna put a pause on it till I'm able to get through the ones I have. Out of the over 40 content creators that I sent the questionnaires to, I got a reply from a little over 25. So from there, I'm building my monthly videos where I focus on using favorites of Black content creators. With this first video, it's going to be a generalized shout out of the content creators and also generalized focus on the products. Then in the subsequent videos, I will focus more on certain content creators and then more of their favorites. And some of their favorites I already own. And if it's something I do not own and it's a brand I own, I use that brand and then I will tell you what their favorite was. The purpose of this video is to introduce to you more Black content creators. Second, shop your stash. I'm going to use what I have. I do not mean or intend for you to go out and purchase just to have what the content creators that I will name their favorites are. And I'm doing so for myself as well. Some of these favorites that I am now aware of, I don't own. And I do not intend to go out and purchase just for the sake of trying the favorites or having it for a video. I do have a list of some things that I'm curious about that are some of their favorites and even new brands to me. Something else I learned from tallying these answers, there are products I've tried in the past that are some of their favorites that I don't enjoy and I decluttered. There were some brands that I was surprised someone else enjoys that I do enjoy as well. Since this is a generalized overview, spotlighting shout out of the content creators and the products, I will only name one or two to each favorite, and then subsequent videos I will focus more, like I said earlier, on the products and which content creator has that product as their favorite, their current favorite, or their current preferred product. So we will get started getting ready using favorites, current preferred products of Black content creators that I watch here on YouTube or that I follow on Instagram. First on screen, I had a few that mentioned Supergoop sunscreen. There are different versions. This brand makes different kinds of sunscreen, but the one I have and use is the Mineral Matte Screen SPF 40. Supergoop sunscreen is a favorite of Teresa and Grace from Gel Beauty 87. Next thing I have is primer. I'm using the JasDK Blurring Balm Powder in Universal. I have the mini currently. And this is a favorite of Smiley Shani and Mitsuko. Something else I noticed while I was tallying up the answers for this project of mine was there are some that do not use a primer, which is perfectly fine, but I noticed some say that they don't use a primer, they just use your sunscreen as your primer, which I found interesting because I do that sometimes. It just depends on what the primer is or what I'm looking for my makeup look or skincare. Example, the matte screen, the Supergoop matte screen, it is a sun protection product and also a primer for me. I have oily T-zone, oily combination skin, and when I use it, I usually don't use another primer on top, but for the sake of this video, I'm using the JasDK Blurring Balm Powder in Universal on top of it as a primer. But whenever I use that Supergoop matte screen, I don't use a primer because it mattifies, blurs, and also provides some protection. So these are the two products that I have on so far. Next thing is cream eyeshadow. I'm going to use one from Phytosurgeons. It's their Flash Fluorescence in Wild Oak. This is my most used shade from them that I have. This is a favorite of Coco Dynamite. I'm gonna warm it up. Apply it all over my lid. Although it's a cream eyeshadow, I actually use it sometimes as a lid primer. Because of the texture of it, it helps with my oily lids. Something else I noticed with the questionnaire, and it's refreshing to know this, and it makes me happy, I guess. I noticed that a lot of us use products in different ways, as in a sunscreen being used as a primer, a bronzer being used as an eyeshadow, or an eyeshadow being used as a blush. Just finding many ways to use a product other than its labeled use, and I was happy to see that when I was tallying up the answers. For eyeshadow, I'm going into Pat McGrath. This is Midnight Sun, Mothership 6 Midnight Sun, and this is what it looks like. This is a favorite of many, but the two content creators that I'm going to shout out are I Am Jamila and Anne Asuko. I'm taking, let's see, what are the names? I'm taking the shade Vermilion Venom all over outer corner and the crease. I think I'll stop there, then I'll build onto it as I go. A question I asked as well was, what is your current favorite or preferred luxury brand? And there were many that chose Pat McGrath. Two of the many were Lethia and Chris Loves Lux. I also asked favorite quints, quad, eyeshadow single. Tanya mentioned that she's currently enjoying the Natasha Denona quint in coral, and I have some Natasha Denona shadows, but I have rearranged, reimagined some of the Natasha Denona palettes that I have. So most of my Natasha Denona palettes are not in its original arrangement. So with this, I have this shade Lola from Natasha Denona Coral, and I will apply it all over my lid. I could have used a brush for this too, but habit, fire. I'm going back into Midnight Sun Vermilion Venom and applying more. I'm going to use the Danessa Myricks Blur and Balm Powder Universal as my sticky base. And I'll go into Blood Moon 005, the shade, and use it as a topper. I have some fallout. And that is it for the eye look for right now. Next, I'm going to be using Mented Bronzer. The shade I have is in Vacay, and this is a favorite of She Who Hits Pan, Beauty Over Age, Lynette, and Dr. Ash and her makeup. Dr. Ash has a pan, major pan, in her bronzer, and shows that she enjoys that bronzer and she uses it a lot. It is a beautiful bronzer, and also from a Black-owned makeup brand. And I'm applying it with the e.l.f. Angled Blush brush. One of the questions I asked was a favorite affordable brand, and I know the word affordable is subjective. I know for some the word affordable can mean something is cheaper, and then to some the word affordable just means am I financially able to pay for it no matter the price. So it's subjective, and each content creator I sent the question to answered appropriately according to what their understanding of the question is. So for affordable, Amira and Tatiana mentioned the e.l.f. Cosmetics brand, and I'm using the e.l.f. Cosmetics brush to apply this bronzer. It's a beautiful bronzer. For cream blush, I am using the Danessa Myricks Yummy Skin Blurring Balm Flushed. This one is in Jubilee. This is a current favorite of, I'm using the e.l.f. Small Stipple Brush. I think I took a lot, picked up a lot. This shade is Jubilee. This is a current favorite of Wendy and Mo. This is beautiful. Although I did express that I picked up a lot, this product blends out beautifully. And there were a few content creators that this Blurring Balm Flushed were their favorites, and they even put the shades that they enjoy. And currently I have Jubilee and Rosé and Brunch. I should stick to just those two. I don't want to purchase more. Even though I enjoy this formula and Danessa Myricks as a brand, I think just the two is enough for me to enjoy and experience this product and formula. I lost the footage where I was applying a powder blush on top of the Danessa Myricks Blurring Balm Powder Flushed. And the powder blush I applied is the Suku Melting Powder Blush in 06. And this is a favorite of Victoria James Luxe. It's looking monochromatic, terracotta, warm-toned look, and I'm enjoying it. For highlighter, cream highlighter, I'm using the Westman Atelier Super Loaded Highlighter. This one is in Peau de Pêche, and this is a favorite of, do I want to use my finger? I'll use the same brush. A favorite of Mo Makeup, Mo Beauty, and Dab's Makeup. So I have used a brush with this, but also depends on the brush you use. I'm using the stipple brush, and it's not applying it as impactful as if I were to use my finger. So I'm going to use my finger. Yeah. But it's not applying it because it's just the nature of the brush. It's supposed to, a stippling brush to my understanding is supposed to have a light, seamless coverage, seamless application, but can be built up. But since I currently do not have the patience to build it up with the brush, which I could, but I don't feel like it, I'll just use my finger to apply it. This is a beautiful cream highlighter. Look at it. and it blends out nicely. It's beautiful. Peau de pêche. Next is finishing powder. So I have many finishing powder from this brand, but I rarely, 95% of the time, I do not use them as finishing powders. Hourglass. This one is in Radiant Light. I also have Transcendent Light, and then I have the finishing powders in the face palettes. These are favorites of It's Laura's Life and Dion Loves Makeup. This one I use as a face highlighter, and then the Transcendent Light I use as a bronzer. But I'm going to use this, I'm going to lay it on top of Peau de Pêche and also just use it around, for the sake of this video, all over, barely. On my skin, it illuminates. It's beautiful. But because of my oily combination skin, I am likely not to place it anywhere that I get really oily throughout the day. If I were to use it all over my face, I use a fluffy brush and just all over my face. But for the sake of this video, just a little bit. There's barely anything on it. And this is the brush I have here with me. I would normally just use a fluffy brush so that it's diffused and not concentrated in areas that I don't want it to be. But since I want it concentrated here, I'm okay using this brush and applying much more than I usually would for the rest of my face. Enjoy these. Next is a setting spray. This is the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Setting Spray. This is a favorite of All Things K and Sasha White. Another setting spray that I really enjoy, but I no longer have, and I plan on picking it up during the Sephora Savings event. It's also a favorite of Amber P. It's the Until Dawn One Size Setting Spray. Lisa Eldridge True Velvet Lipsticks. This is a favorite of many, but it's a favorite of Heather Henry. I have the shades Velvet Decade and Velvet Affair, and I think I will try and use both. Create like a ombre lip. Using Decade as a liner. My Velvet Affair is broken, so I have it like this while I'm applying. And that's the lip. Decade and Affair. I used Extreme Dusk, the shade, as a upper lash line liner, and I applied my mascara. I'm using the Oma Beauty mascara. That is the full face of Black content creators' current favorites or current preferred products. I am excited for the future videos, future monthly videos that's coming up surrounding this title or this topic. I will link all the content creators that I mentioned on this video in the description box, and I'll also, if they have an Instagram, I will link their Instagram. If they have both, I will link both. If they only have YouTube, I will do so as well. I have a few micro Locs content creator as well. I'll link them in the description box below, so you can go check them out if you're interested in Loc Content. And in subsequent videos, I have something in mind where I will spotlight them as well. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And while you're here, if you have not subscribed, I would love for you to consider subscribing. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you in my next video.